Hi, I'm Reverend Elizabeth Howell, and this is Psychic Sushi. And today we are going to discuss Reiki healing. Now, Reiki is something that is close to my heart because I am a Reiki master, and I also have a lot of friends who specialize in Reiki healing as well as our Reiki masters. And today we have my special guest, Lisa Brousseau, who is with Peace, Love, and Light Incorporated. She owns a store in Akron, Ohio, and Lisa does classes, workshops. She also is a Reiki master, and we're glad to have her here today. And she brought with us a wonderful person, Paul Christian. And Paul Christian is a certified Reiki master. I'm going to hopefully get all this right. Karuna Reiki master. Amana Reiki master, and Earth Energy teacher. And he has a business called Rainbow Gardens. And also we have with us Brother Andre Long, and he's a level 2 Reiki student, and he's here to show us what it's like to be a student of Reiki. So a lot of people know about Reiki. We have a lot of, it's infiltrated, let's say, mainstream. It's acceptable now. Reiki healing, Reiki. And Reiki is energy. And I think we need to go into, first off, explaining what Reiki is and how does it work and exactly what is it about. Because someone out there will say, it's just foo-foo, you know. You're talking about energies and blah, 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 and they kind of want to dismiss it all. So when we're talking to the people who don't know what it's about, what exactly is it? And this is our panel, so go ahead. Take up the...
Well, I'm going to defer to Paul on that,
okay,
because he's my master teacher.
Okay.
Well, Reiki is a combination of 2 syllables, Rei, which in Japan, one of the most accepted meanings is universal, and Ki, which is the same as the Chinese Qi,
Okay.
and basically it just means energy. So you have universal energy. So one of the things that's important to know about Reiki is it is not a religion.
Right.
Okay? I have students that are Protestant, Catholic, Jewish, Hindu, Buddhist, pagan, undecided. And in the Reiki magazine that William Rand puts out, one lady wrote in, "I thank Allah every day for Reiki." So when we say universal, we mean universal, and it is something that anyone can incorporate into their own belief system and just use.
But it's not about religion.
No.
It's about, so anyone can do it, any faith, anyone, it doesn't matter what you believe in, you can do it.
Well, Reiki is now in over 200 hospitals, some of them prestigious teaching hospitals like Bethesda, Maryland. It's also at the Cleveland Clinic.
Yes, it is.
And what they're finding is that people, doctors like to keep statistics. And what they're finding is the people that choose the Reiki option, they use less pain medication, their stay in the hospital is shorter, and they have less complications.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll stress the fact that I know for a fact the Cleveland Clinic has Reiki healers on call, and they have a wing in their holistic, quote unquote, they're holistic, where they have massage therapists as well as the nurses who are certified in Reiki. And these nurses actually train probably with someone with you. They actually get credit from you, yes? And this goes to their nursing skills. So it's accepted. You know, if the Cleveland Clinic accepts it, this is something that should be accepted, we would say, universally everywhere, yes? Okay.
Yes.
Yes.
That is our hope. I mean, unfortunately, there are people out there that still, have their fears or their concerns about it. Essentially, what I say to them is, just have the Reiki experience. Just to understand, what it's all about. Pick up a book. Read about it. There actually have been wonderful journal articles written in the Journal of the American Medical Association, as well as the New England Journal of Medicine. They've done research and studies on Reiki and have actually documented, the effects that Reiki can have on the individual.
To study Reiki and to become attuned is what is the process So you go through and you study, you become attuned by a master. A master attunes a student. And here we have a level 2 student. And there are actually 3 to maybe 4 different levels. But what does one have to do to be attuned? Let's say someone says, I want to become attuned, I'm interested. What would they have to do?
Do you want to handle that?
Well, basically, you would connect with a master teacher. I've come to realize that when the student is ready, the teacher always appears. And a lot of my students come to me because they walk in the shop, and while they're looking at stones or crystals or whatever, they say, you know, I've always wanted to know about Reiki. And it's like, so I start telling them about Reiki, and then the next thing I know, you know, we're signing on for a class. I know a number of teachers who will, you know, they like to have a few students before they teach a class. Paul taught me that if a student appears, then you teach that student.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so it doesn't matter to me how many students I have. One student is plenty to go about. But in the process, you know, when first we take the time, like at the Reiki level 1, we take the time to, you know, teach them about how Reiki was reintroduced back to the world. Mm-hmm. And then from there we educate them about the energy, how it works, what it means. And then through the attunement process, especially at Reiki level 1, we literally open up their crown chakra and connect them to that source of energy. And then we open up their palm chakras so that the energy can flow freely through their palms.
And it sounds like it's a pretty simple process.
Mm-hmm.
No, you know, contortions and standing on your head and doing anything outrageous.
Doesn't require fasting or any of this, you know. Although, hey, you're free to do that. I mean, I've had students come to me that have fasted for 3 days before they've taken their attunement. Seriously, it wasn't necessary, but hey, if it made you feel good.
Right.
You
well,
know.
and that's the good point you brought out, learning the history and how Reiki was reintroduced. What would you like to tell us the story of how Reiki was reintroduced into healing?
Well, Dr. Usui in Japan went on a long search to try to rediscover healing, because there became a split in religions where the religious figures, you know, priests, ministers, whatever, were just speaking to the spirit, and then they left the body to the doctors. But in the olden times, that's not how it was done. You know, the religious figures like Buddha and Jesus were actually doing healing work. So he said, you know, and Dr. Usui's students were saying, well, how can we believe in that? We've never seen that. So Dr. Usui spent many years researching, and he actually learned Chinese and Sanskrit so he could look at the oldest scrolls, and he found these healing symbols, but he didn't know how to use them. So he had become friends with this abbot of this monastery, because that's where these ancient scrolls were, in the archives of this monastery. So he asked the abbot, well, now what do I do? After 7 years, I found this, but I don't know how to use it. And the abbot told them, well, when we have something like this, there's an ancient tradition of going up on the mountaintop for 21 days and fasting and meditating, so that you can have a spiritual experience and you know, gain the knowledge that you're seeking. And that's what Dr. Usui did. And on the 21st day, he had a spiritual experience that he actually saw these symbols and bubbles of light, and it reawakened the knowledge in him of how to use them. So he was able to go teach the abbot.
Okay.
So that that's a compacted form of the story.
Right. Very, very well done, yes. Yeah. And then from there, he taught 1 to 2 people, right? Or I'm trying to remember.
Well, he taught about 2,000 actually.
Okay.
16 of them as masters, we think, around that. But it was Mrs. Takata from Hawaii who actually brought that knowledge to the West.
Right.
So we owe her a great debt of gratitude.
Yes. And, you know, back in the 60s, I believe, it was to become a Reiki master was quite expensive.
Yes.
I met a person in England that took great offense that when I actually told him how much I paid for my attunements because he had paid $16,000 for his attunement, and he got up and walked away from the table with me. He was quite upset with me. But nowadays, it's not so expensive. It's not so out of reach, because maybe it's time everyone needs to be attuned so we can help the planet, I think. Yes?
Well, there are still masters out there that teach in the old tradition where in order to actually take that final master attunement, it does cost $10,000. William Rand was the master student that actually chose to look at it and say, this needs to be accessible to more people. And the only way to make it accessible is to make it affordable. And so he created the International Center for Reiki in Michigan.
The price of, say, I took my advanced Reiki and mastership in a 3-day weekend, and it was priced about what you'd pay for a business conference of 3 days.
That's a
so
good
it was
example.
accessible.
Yeah, accessible.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it was a sacrifice, a financial sacrifice, but it was doable. I didn't have to take a second mortgage out on the house to do it.
Right, and that's what's so also comfortable to me is it's, how do I put that? Because it is not out of reach anymore.
Yes.
Not out of reach. So now William Rand, since we brought his name up, for those of you who know Reiki, William Rand is a very important name. So explain who William Rand is, the center, and maybe give us some background with that.
You want to go ahead and?
Sure.
Because you've actually been to the center.
Yes. Well, actually, the International Center for Reiki, the classes are actually taught in William's home, which he has a very nice big living room that he teaches in. And then there's a separate building that basically you can call or order online to, he has a lot of books and his manuals and different items associated with Reiki that you can buy from his center. Yeah. But he's probably got the largest Reiki center on the planet right now.
Yeah.
And he's a very, very good teacher, and the manuals that he wrote are the manuals that I know that Lisa and I use, because we've never seen anything better.
Right.
There's a lot of Reiki manuals, but his, I feel, are the best.
Yeah, they are. I agree with that.
They're very clearly written, and the master manual, if you haven't taught a class for a while, you can go back and review that, and it's like step by step exactly what you're supposed to do.
I need to get that. I didn't get that with my attunement.
But you didn't get the master manual?
Not from William Rand. So once somebody gets attunement, let's say, let's just describe what uses one can use for Reiki.
Well, I'd like to have Andre. He told us a story on the way up. So here we have a second-degree student. Okay, so he's not a Reiki master yet. He's a second-degree student, and he actually experienced an actual healing miracle. So I think would that be all right? Can you tell us that story, Andre?
Great.
Yes, last Friday I did experience my first healing miracle. I do more than just the Reiki. Reiki was the first thing that I got into, and I've added crystals and tuning forks as well. Wow. So I did my first full session on Friday for a lady who had a stroke in '98. And so for the last 13 years, the right side of her body's been dead. She hasn't been able to move it or feel anything on the right side of her body. So I went to her house and I did the session for her, and 4 miraculous things took place. Well, I had laid the crystals on her, I gave her the tuning forks, and I left this part out of the car story on the way up, but during the Reiki portion of doing her healing, she kept saying, "Oh my gosh, I'm burning, I'm hot, I'm burning, something's burning." And then she said, "Oh my gosh, I'm cold, something's freezing, it's cold." And she went back and forth from being burning to being cold about 6 or 7 times while I stood over. I wasn't touching her. I just had my hands over her, sending the Reiki. And I knew that the healing was taking place when she felt that, because normally when the Reiki, the sign of Reiki being done is you feel warmth coming out of the people's hands. And so she could feel the warmth, and she was like, oh, something's coming out. Well, anyways, after I had finished giving her the Reiki, and I had began to take the crystals off of her, and I did the last tuning for the 4 things happened. The first thing that happened was her withered hand on the right side of her body opened up.
Wow.
And then I was going to give her a massage after all of that was said and done. So I went down to begin to give her massage, and her right foot started to jumping. And each time I touched the back of her foot, it jumped, and we counted it jumped 20 times with me touching it. And the lady that takes care of her was excited. When she saw her foot jumping, she just started crying, and she was, you know, overwhelmed because it's been 13 years since she's had any movement over there. And so the lady who takes care of her saw her foot moving, and she was like, Rose, you could probably lift your leg, try to lift your leg. And she, you know, made an interesting face and gestured, and she tried with all her might to move her leg, and she actually picked her leg up and moved it twice.
Wow.
The first time it picked up and moved a little bit. The second time it moved very far. And then the 4th thing that happened, I said, okay, well, your hand open, your foot's moving, you can pick up your leg. Let's see if you can feel anything. And I went to go touch her legs, and she could feel my hands touching her legs.
Wow.
And so that was definitely a miracle. And the whole time I was giving her the Reiki portion, she was, oh, something's coming out. Oh, it's hot, it's burning. Oh, I'm cold, I'm cold. Am I supposed to feel this? Am I supposed to feel that? And it was pretty amazing. It was pretty amazing.
Wow, that's great. And that's a powerful story. And I've heard hundreds, it's not as powerful as that. And my story is every time that I had to have 3 surgeries. And I would heal so quickly because my friend would work on me that the doctor said after the 2nd surgery, he goes, I don't know what you're doing because you're healing so fast. He was just totally amazed. He's like, I don't know what's going on. And I told him, and he was like, oh, I heard about that stuff. It was basically how he did it. I heard about that stuff. So it accelerated my healing process whenever I had the surgery. So it definitely enlivens and it accelerates healing. And that's terrific.
Actually, I'm alive because of Reiki.
Yes.
Yeah, I met Paul probably about 5 days after the doctors told me that I was dying and there wasn't anything they could do for me. And Paul, I ran into Paul at a bookstore and was introduced to him, and he says, well, you know, my wife and I have a healing circle twice a month at our house. You should come. And I mean, I couldn't even begin to describe all of the miracles that happened on that table with, you know, and at Paul's, it could be anywhere from 2 to 8 or 10 people working on you at once.
Wow, wow. That is powerful, yeah.
You know,
yeah.
and I spent about 4 months in multiple system organ failure, and, you know, and managed to get through all of that. And took my first Reiki attunement probably about 8 weeks after I came out of it.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
So then she could work on herself every day.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so if someone were to become attuned, they don't have to go out and be, you know, a healer and make it a business. They can just use it in their personal life, on their bodies.
And that was the
themselves.
reason why I studied. I knew that I needed, in order to continue my own healing, I needed to be able to heal myself on a daily basis.
Yeah.
And that's why I started studying.
Yeah, I know I do my food and my water.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, no calories. No, I'm just kidding. It hasn't worked at all. But energize. Energize the water, energize the food I eat.
I do the same thing.
And speaking about before and after, you know, results, and we're talking about results and miracles, you brought a couple pictures?
Oh, yes.
You brought a couple pictures, and we'll be able to show them.
Okay.
I know that maybe it might be hard at this
now,
angle.
How do you want me to,
Let's see,
hold them up? Okay. This picture is before. They have cameras now that are,
There we go.
Aura cameras. Okay. So this took a picture of my aura. I just sat down and said, take the picture. And then what I told the lady, I said, I'm going to want 2 pictures. So she took this one, and then I said, now give me a second. And then I sat and I intended to send healing. And so 45 seconds later, this picture was taken while I was sending healing. There's so much light. There's so much light you can't even see my face. So I thought these were really neat, that this actually showed there is healing light coming in.
Yeah.
So it really makes a difference.
And that's, like you said, 45 seconds or so.
Yes.
You know, boom, here's a picture, then boom, here's the next. And you can see the energy work going on. And that's a great before and after example. Thank you. Because, you know, we know that there's an energy that takes place when we're doing the healing. So as you said, it's described as warm. What else would a person feel? What do you think is the average? You know, the average person out there, I'm scared. I don't know if I want someone, you know, touching me or doing something to my body, you know.
The beauty of Reiki is that really it's an energy, which means it can be 99% of it is intention in the movement of energy. I have a friend who was diagnosed with a brain tumor, and what had happened is it had surrounded her optic nerve and she could no longer see. At the time, we had it was a healing study group going on. And so I got all my study group buddies into it. And of course, you know, we're here in Ohio and she's in New York. And she wasn't too keen on the whole, you know, having a bunch of people with their hands on her thing. But I says, okay. So we set a time. I said, and all I'm going to ask you to do is you just go and lay on your bed and rest. And we're going to send you a healing. And there was, 6 of us, I think, center. We scheduled a time, all 6 of us center healing for an hour. And we, of course, you know, 300 miles away, never touched her. But she says from the minute she lay down on her bed, she just felt enveloped. She says it was kind of like being back in the womb. She said, everything was warm and soft. And she said, I fell into sleep I've ever fell into.
Right.
And now the doctors were going to operate the following. We did this on a Friday, and they were going to operate on Tuesday. And they told her that because she'd already lost her sight, that she would be lucky if her sight would come back within 3 months. And then if it didn't come back in 3 months, she wasn't going to regain her sight. So we agreed that we would continue to send her healing when she was in the operating room. She was in the operating room 12 hours to get that tumor out. And she called me when she came out of anesthesia. 6 hours later, my phone rang, and it was her. And she said, "My favorite color is blue." She says, "There's a nurse standing in front of me with blue scrubs on. My new favorite color is blue."
Wow. Wow.
You know, the thing with Reiki is that even though there's an attunement process and there are classes to learn how, you can do anything with Reiki. I brought this along.
The bear.
These Reiki bears are my new favorite thing because I have so many clients right now that are going through traumatic times, surgeries, severe illnesses, et cetera, that I don't have time to get to everybody as much as I would like to. So what I've been doing is I've been going to, like, you know, the dollar store or Dollar General, and I've been picking up bears. And I'll put a little crystal around their neck, and then I'll give it Reiki and get it programmed. Now, there are symbols that go with Reiki as you move up in the degrees. So I'll program it with the symbols, and I'll get it all good Reiki-fied. And then I'll just hand it off to that individual. Now, the reason I put the crystal around the neck is because it's easier for me to touch base with that particular bear because I know the crystal. I can connect with the crystal and then send Reiki to the bear and then keep it charged. And then all they do is just hold the bear. You know, wherever it hurts. Sometimes just having it around. I just did this for a friend of mine who's recovering from surgery, and she was just tickled to have the little bear. And she's like, and I talked to her today, and she says, you know, that Reiki bear really helps. She says, whenever I really hurt or I'm waiting for the pain medication to kick in, I just put the Reiki bear where it really hurts, and it just feels so much better. So there's a lot of, you know, it's only restricted by your imagination.
I like that. Because I know the average person out there would say, well, you know, again, why would I have it done? And, you know, my answer is, why not?
It's important for people to know is the client stays fully clothed.
Thank you.
You might want
Yes.
them to take their shoes off, you know, so that they don't mess
It's not
up
like
your
massage and they get
massage
naked and have to
table.
wrap up in a
Right,
Yeah.
right.
cloth.
So you stay fully clothed. Reiki goes through clothes and belt buckles, and it's not a problem. So, you know, sometimes, no, Brother Andre was just saying that he didn't even touch that lady, so the hands sometimes can be off the body.
Right.
Many practitioners actually do touch the body. I usually do, but sometimes I'm guided to work off the body too.
Yeah.
So it's a very individual thing.
Right, right. So you're not, you know, having to. It isn't something that where, how do I put this? That you could be embarrassed or something like
No.
that. It's very respectful.
Now,
Yes.
yes, it is
Okay.
very respectful, and there's never any reason to touch any private areas of the body.
Right.
That just does not happen ever, no matter what the problem is. They're very comfortable and very relaxed.
Right.
And many people fall asleep
Yeah.
while they're getting a Reiki treatment.
And we are going to be doing a demonstration here. My understanding is in order to actually touch someone or to do something of like spiritual healing, you have to be a minister. I mean,
And
am I correct about that? Is like
Well,
'cause
there's actually two ways
Okay.
that you can do this, because when you think about it, especially in the medical profession, most people are licensed or certified to actually perform invasive procedure and to put their hands on other individuals.
Right.
So if you're in that category where you have a licensure or a certification, like massage therapists,
Right.
but massage therapists are licensed by the medical board, so they actually are protected through their license or certification. In the state of Ohio, it's not required that you be a minister. In fact, I found this out recently from a friend of mine who basically said that through the Reiki Alliance, you know, rather than becoming a licensed minister through the Reiki Alliance, you can actually get very low-cost malpractice insurance as a Reiki practitioner to protect you in your practice.
Interesting, because I mean, my understanding, and I didn't know how things had changed, because I know that yes, massage therapists and nurses, most of the ones that I know have gone out and become attuned, and then I can fall under the third category, which is I became ordained to kind of have that umbrella that I'm working with someone and it's spiritual.
Well, I think the difference, if you're actually doing kneading and your hands are moving across the body, that would be considered some form of massage, and you would need licensure to do that.
Yeah.
But with Reiki, you can either work off the body, or if your hands are on the body, they're still.
Right.
They're sitting there, and then you
Not
move
moving.
them to another spot.
Right.
So there isn't any kneading of muscles, and therefore
It's non-invasive.
it's not.
It is non-invasive, but I got my minister's license to kind of umbrella protect.
It's an extra protection.
Extra
Yeah.
protection. So
Yeah,
I didn't know if the state
I did that
had,
as well.
Yeah, I just didn't know if the state had changed anything, because my understanding is the state was kind of still on the border with Reiki practitioners.
I don't think the state has actually done anything in terms of creating any type of procedure or licensure to protect Reiki practitioners. It's not like in New York State, you know, in order, you know, their laws are actually much more stringent, and you would actually, you know, you almost are required to have some type of certification to back you up, or you're required to be a licensed minister to be able to.
So that's what I thought we're at. Well, anyway, we want to. Any other questions, answers we're gonna cover? Did we cover? You want to add anything?
Yeah, there was something that I wanted to say just as far as being a new person to the Reiki, and I just wanted to kind of share the experience that I had going into my first attunement. Both what I had experienced for me personally, and then what I experienced trying to treat other people. You know, you kind of can't help but to be a little skeptic, but as I would treat people and people would say, oh, this is her, and I would just put my hands and try to send it. I'll put my hands, but every time I tried to give somebody Reiki, every time the pain stopped. And at first I wasn't believing. I'm like, they're just trying to make me feel good about what I'm doing. But you know, it really helped to build the confidence, because there wasn't one person who didn't have a result. And then the last thing I wanted to say is after I got my Reiki 2, which was not too long ago, I began to treat my grandmother. And she's 88 years old. And several years ago, I don't know how long, but she had a hip replaced and a knee replaced. And she has pain when she gets up and walks. It's not hurting all the time, but if she makes a sudden movement, you know, she had pain. So as soon as I got my Reiki 2, I started trying to give her Reiki. And just to make the long story short, not only did her hip stop hurting, her knees stopped hurting, I was treating her every day, and she was like, okay, well, let's see how long this will work before the pain comes back again. And so now it's been probably going on about 3 weeks now since the last time I treated her, and she still hasn't felt any type of pain whatsoever. And she loves to tell folks about how her grandson.
Because the Reiki, if you were to visualize Reiki energy, you could visualize it as a column of white light moving down through the crown and out through the palms of the hands of the practitioner. So realize that because the energy is flowing through the practitioner's getting a healing while they're giving a healing.
Yes, it's always a win-win situation. There's no sacrifice required. And one of the things that I've been doing Reiki longer than either of these, one thing that I've found out is that now, after doing healing all of these years, I can just be on the phone with someone. You know, I'll talk to them on the phone for 5 minutes, and I'm just talking to them. I'm not thinking about healing. I'm just talking to them, and they say, oh, you know, I feel a lot better now.
And maybe to kind of specify, Reiki energy is not like personal energy. It's not your healing.
No.
You're not.
It's
It's not
directly
about
from the
you.
source.
It's not about Elizabeth putting her hands on somebody and you know. It's not about personal energy. It's coming from here. It's coming from.
It's that universal divine energy coming through us, and that's how we as practitioners, we keep ourselves from getting a swelled head.
Right.
You know, we want to be able to get our head through doorways. So we're not actually doing the healing. You know, we are allowing the healing to come through us.
Simply a conduit.
But we are an important part. We are, you know, we don't want to put ourselves up as, oh, I'm this great healer, you know, but we don't want to put ourselves down as not doing anything.
Right.
Because one of the spiritual messages I received was, if the healing was going to occur without you, beloved, it would have already done so.
And our planet needs it today. So many people going through stress and transition. It seems that, you know, and then we have, you know, all over the global, when we think globally, you know, there's lots of crises every time we turn around. For people to be able to use something as simple as energy to help alleviate, maybe make someone feel a little bit better, we need it, and our planet needs it. Right.
The only reason I watch the evening news anymore, it doesn't matter to me what's going on in the news. I just need to know where I need to send the Reiki energy.
Right, and that's my point. We send a lot of healing groups and centers. And also, just to add, there are a lot of places one can go to get a sample of Reiki healing. You can go to maybe a church. Some churches have healing centers sometimes, or healing circles. Some, like you guys practice at your store, you have a healing circle. People can go and experience it, maybe a 10-minute session or
local
something.
psychic fairs.
At psychic fairs, we do this and get an example or feel it. But you know, I encourage people to get out and do this to feel it, so that for themselves. But we're going to go ahead and we're going to do a demonstration here before our live studio audience. We're going to set up the table, and we're going to pick a guinea pig out of the audience, someone who's in tremendous pain, and we're going to have them come on, and we're going to do an example of what Reiki healing looks like. All right?
There's only one more point I wanted to make. We're literally 3 generations of Reiki practitioners. Paul is my master teacher, and I am Andre's master teacher. So we're three generations of teachers.
Grandpa, Mom,
Yes,
child.
yes. I told Brother Andre he could call me Grandpa.
No, I thought that was cute. So we're going to go ahead and get the table set up, and we'll do that. And we have a studio audience member here, and she volunteered, and her name is Judy. Judy, tell us what's wrong with you.
Do you have a week? My heart. have some healing of the heart, lost two really good family members. And the left side of my body, the energy is not connecting. I have pain in my hip and my shoulder.
So would you say the pain is on a scale of 1 to 10? Where is it at?
Well, now that I'm laying down, it's nicer. But when I'm walking, the pain in my hip is about a 7, and it's about a 6 in my shoulder constantly.
Okay, so 6 or a 7 is her pain level. So we're going to go ahead and allow these masters and wonderful healers to start their session.
Okay.
Okay. Well, I think first what Andre is going to do is he's going to use the pendulum, and he's going to check her heart chakra and see what kind of movement that we have there. Now, a chakra that is operating fully unblocked, the pendulum should spin. And as you can see, the pendulum really isn't doing much. So that's probably a good indication that her heart chakra is probably blocked, and it would make sense, having experienced some great emotional pain, that would be her experience. So Paul, I believe, is going to use a Reiki technique that we fondly refer to as psychic surgery to see if we can help her unblock her heart chakra.
Okay. So what I would like is there for you guys assistants. So
Okay.
if you could each put your hands somewhere.
Pull up a body part and go.
Yeah, pick a
okay.
body part and go. Okay. So that way we're working together. And as Lisa said earlier, but it wasn't on camera, if the 3 of us work together, it's the same as having 9 individual practitioners because it's exponential. Okay. So, Judy, what I would like you to do is use your imagination. And if this pain in your heart center, if it had a color, what color would it be?
Red.
And if it had a shape, what shape would it be?
I guess a heart-shaped.
Okay. Would it be heavy or light?
It's heavy.
Okay.
I would like it to be light.
Okay. So it's red, heart-shaped, and heavy. Is it dull or shiny?
It's shiny.
Okay, so we have this shiny, red, heart-shaped, heavy thing in your heart center. Can I have it?
Yes.
Okay, now I'm not going to keep it. I'm going to give it to the angels and masters. And I'm going to put my hand underneath. There you go. Is that comfortable?
Fine.
All right. Now my hand is like an energy magnet, and it's going to pull that heavy, red, heart-shaped, shiny thing right out of there. And your part is just to let go. Don't push it out. Just let go and just see it in your imagination. Just see it. Oh, good job. Okay. Just see it coming out. And we're going to do this several times. And just release that energy and give it to the angels. Good job, good job. I can feel the release of the energy coming out. The imbalanced energy, that energy that's giving you the pain. Just letting that just flow right out and just being transformed in a pure healing light. And then the angels will send it back to you to heal and bless. Now, Judy, I want you to use your imagination. And just imagine you're looking in your heart center. Have we gotten all of that out of there?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so now we're going to put the good stuff in. Just allow that healing energy to flow in. Sometimes when practitioners are doing healing, sometimes we feel the energy so strongly that we'll shake. Our head will move. Not every practitioner does this, but sometimes we do.
And sometimes when the energy's really moving through me, the sweat's literally rolling off my forehead. It's, I've had a few experiences like that.
Yeah, I'm generally a very chilly person, and when we have our open healing night, our group healing night at our house, 10 minutes before people show up, I've got a sweatshirt on. And I always take it off before we start healing because I know if I don't, I'm going to get too hot. Half an hour later, I've got sweat dripping down. 10 minutes after everybody's gone home, I'm there, where's my sweatshirt? I'm cold again. So I feel a tremendous amount of heat in my hands, and I feel hot all over whenever I do healing work. And that's an indication to me that this beautiful divine energy is flowing. How's that left side? Does that seem opened up to you? I think this is Grand Central right here.
Yeah, actually, if it's okay, Judy, you've got a lot of energy in your solar plexus region, and if it's okay, I'd like to release it because what I'm seeing here is that, we take a lot of other people's energy comes in through our solar plexus, whether it's good or negative or positive. Mm-hmm. And so I see a lot of stuff here that just needs to be released if it's okay with you. Okay.
Now we see that Lisa's using a slightly different technique, and that's absolutely fine. We each have our own, we find different ways we're inspired to use different techniques. And when we get that inspiration, I advise anyone to follow that because those are your healing guides just nudging you a little bit silently inside to use a particular technique for a particular person.
Now, does it feel lighter in there? Okay. Of course, I have to admit I'm not used to doing Reiki in this bright a light.
Yes. Yes, we would get hot without the light,
Yeah.
but this is really warm.
The artificial white light, but it's white light.
That's right.
We'll take our white light wherever we can get it.
So I think we're
Okay, Andre?
I think she's toast.
Okay.
Okay.
We're going to let Andre pull his pendulum out and see if we can get any movement in that heart chakra. And, that's a good, checks and balance. Our intuition's telling us that it's obviously, the work has been done, but let's see what the pendulum has to say. And I can see the pendulum quivering where before it was stock still.
There it goes.
Yeah.
And you notice it's going clockwise. So that tells us that's the right direction.
Excellent.
So it is moving. It's not vigorous. So sometimes the healing takes place. What we did jump-started the healing, but the healing will continue and can continue for quite some time.
Now, Judy, I want to know, how did that feel? Did you get warmth? Describe what it was feeling like.
Well, when he had his hand over my heart and on the back, my heart was pounding. I could feel that. And then when she gravitated to my solar plexus, I know I store a lot of stuff in the gut, and that has to move. But the most heat I felt was on my ankles. I felt a lot of heat.
As in warm or a good sensation, or was it prickly? I mean, it was
like burning heat.
Burning. So, but it was not uncomfortable.
No.
But warm. You definitely
warm.
felt a sensation.
Yes, definitely a sensation.
Mm-hmm.
So.
And how would you say your pain, what level is your pain at?
My shoulder, I can tell you what, my shoulder's better. My hip is when I walk, so I'd have to give when I sit up.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
Look at that. Look at the
Thank
pin.
you.
Yeah, it's
Yes.
kind of gradually built.
Mm-hmm.
It's spinning like crazy.
Yeah,
now.
so
Wow.
so even as we're standing here, we see evidence that the healing is continuing.
That is amazing.
Yeah. Very good.
That's a huge set.
So why don't we have Judy get up and walk a little bit and give us some feedback on the hip.
Yeah,
Right.
get up and, now get sit up slowly.
Right.
You
Yeah.
don't want you to just teeter off of the,
Better. Better.
okay, on a scale of 1 to 10, where are you at?
I'm probably low, 2.
A 2.
Yeah, I mean, getting up off of bed at night, it hurts.
Okay.
It hurts.
So where's the heart and shoulders now from 1 to 10?
Well, I need to lift somebody. that does feel better. It does feel better. I'm a little.
Feeling woozy, yeah, woo-woo. Yeah, feeling very good, very good.
Okay.
All right, well, that was our demonstration. And now we're going to go ahead and go into a question and answer segment where our audience gets to ask a few questions of our Reiki healers. And now we're going to go ahead and have our studio audience ask questions, and hopefully they'll be asking questions that you all out there in TV land are thinking as well. So who's got a question? All right, we got short stuff.
Is it hard to do Reiki on yourself?
Oh, no. No, in fact, after an attunement, we encourage the student to give themselves a treatment every day for 21 days to truly anchor the attunement. And I can remember the very first Reiki treatment I gave myself. I was out cold in like 15 minutes. How about you, Andre?
It's not hard at all. All you really do is put your hands where you want them and ask the energy to flow. And that's the difference between Reiki and a lot of other type of energy work. Some type of energy work you have to meditate and visualize and pull the energy in and pull the energy up and send the energy out. And in Reiki, you kind of just put your hands out and ask it to flow, and it just does.
Very good.
Yeah.
Anybody else have a question? Or, do you want to add?
Well, I was just going to say, it's so easy that I heard a story of there was a man who was a great Reiki practitioner, and his wife had a really sore shoulder, but he was taking a nap. So she just laid down next to him and took his hand and put it on her shoulder and didn't even wake him up. And, and 10 minutes later, her shoulder was fine. And he never woke up. So it's very easy.
Very easy. All right, anybody else? All right.
How long does it take to learn the Reiki method?
Well, the first class is a day long. So we usually have a class from 9 to 5 with an hour lunch break. So it's just a one-day class. And so now Brother Andre has actually taken 2 one-day classes to become a second-degree practitioner. So it's not a long, involved process.
Okay. Thanks.
All right. Anybody else? Okay.
At the time of healing, do you feel energy from other spirits or someone holy? Or what is the energy you're getting? Is it just from yourself?
Well, that would be different for each one of us. I think each one of us are going to need to answer that question.
Right.
I felt a lot of energy, tremendous heat. My whole body was hot. And when I was pulling out that unbalanced energy, I could feel it. It was like an energy streamer coming off my fingers. And then I would put it up so the angels could take that to transform it. And I literally could feel. I didn't feel the presence of the angels so much as I felt the energy leaving. And then when we were putting the good energy in, then I felt so much energy coming through me, I was literally shaking. So that was my experience.
For me to describe my experience, I would have to, the terms I would use would be there's a source, right, where all things come from. And it's this source that the different religions consider God, the creator, Allah, Jehovah. There's all type of different names, but the thing they have in common is it's always this one source. And even in science, although, you know, some forms of science don't acknowledge a creative force, science does say that nothing can come from nothing. So everything had to come from something. And that something is the universal life force, the Reiki. And so we all have a connection to this universal force. But the thing is, we're just not always aware of it. So the Reiki attunements open up your body to channel this universal force that is with all of us. But once you get your Reiki attunement, it just opens you up to that force. So when I do the Reiki, that universal force, whatever you want to call it, it's always going to be that one force. It comes through, and normally what I feel is a sensation in my heart. I feel it kind of just expands and I get hot. This time was the first time I actually dropped a bead of sweat. I had a sweat bead drop from my underarms, and I could feel my hands getting extremely hot. I could feel my hands getting hot, and then eventually I could feel one side of her body pulling more energy out than the other side.
For me, it's literally like putting the plug in the outlet. It's, you know, the way it feels to me, it's like when I'm either, if I'm giving healing or sending a healing or whatever healing work I'm doing, I just feel like I plug in to the source, and once I'm connected to the source, it amplifies everything for me. So, you know, where I may not, if you're walking by me, I may not be able to tell you what's going on with you, but if I'm sending you Reiki, then I know what's going on with you. and I'm able to, you know, move the energy according to what the energy tells me needs to be done. If something needs to be released, then I release it. It's literally like just plugging into the source. The light goes on, and I'm off to the races.
I understand that Reiki helps with the physical aspect of a person, but how about emotional problems or emotional blockage?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, when you consider that our lovely subject here was feeling tremendous emotional pain in her heart, when we were able to actually alleviate that pain for her. The interesting thing is that, you know, whether it's mental, emotional, spiritual, energetic, karmic, you know, physical, there is the ability to heal that if it chooses to be healed or if it needs to be healed. With her, I mean, you saw with the pendulum that what she was feeling in her heart, it's not like she was having a heart attack or, you know, having any other type of physical pain. She was having a great deal of emotional pain. But you could see with the movement of the pendulum, or the lack of movement in the pendulum, how much it was affecting the energy center of the heart. And by releasing that, we were able to free up that energy. And, you know, and I'm sure it's going to, more than just free up that emotional energy, it's probably going to free up some mental energy, some physical and spiritual energy as well.
Awesome.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
Yeah, one nice thing about this is this can be preventative medicine, because what I've seen from all my studies and my experience is that most physical pain has an origin in psychological, emotional trauma, okay? So, all right, she was feeling this sorrow, this grief in her heart center. If she had held that in the emotional body for, say, 10, 20 years, it might have led to a physical problem with the heart. Mm-hmm. So then by releasing that bad scenario never happens.
It's literally like taking the healing from where it resides currently and actually taking it back and healing it at the source.
Yeah, by doing it on this energetic level, it's like we're healing the blueprint, the energetic blueprint for the body. We heal the blueprint, and then the physical body goes, oh, now I remember what I'm supposed to do.
Oh, I like that. I like that a lot. I know. Any other questions? How many times do we have to ask? Okay,
What's the pillow for?
The bolster, we put this under a person's knees. Actually, what it does is by putting it under their knees and keeping their knees slightly bent, it takes a lot of strain off of the lower back, so they're able to lay comfortably on the table for longer periods of time.
Okay. Any other questions? Comments? Peanut gallery? Nothing? All right. Well, we want to again thank our studio audience for asking the questions, and hopefully that explained a little bit more. And thank you so much.
Yes.
Well, we want to thank everyone here in our studio audience for participating today. And we want to thank our guest, Lisa Brusso from Peace, Love, and Light Incorporated. And Lisa, if it comes to my psychic fairs, she's available. She comes into Medina, so if you come around, you want to catch her, you can catch her in Medina, or you can catch her over in Akron. But Lisa has a website.
www.peaceloveandlight.com.
Okay, and we also will have that linked in, as well as Paul Christian. And we want to thank you so much, Paul, for being here. I really appreciate having a master Reiki master here, Paul. And you have Rainbow Gardens, and you have a website.
Yeah, www.rainbowgardens.ws.
Okay. And, you know, with all the masters you have with it, that'd be, you know, and working with William Rand, I would suggest check him out. You know, that's an excellent, you know, credentialing there. That's noteworthy. All right.
Well, he actually, and William Rand has a website called Reiki.org.
Reiki.org, and it's a great society. You know, people who are, you know, level 1 or 2 to go there, get your supplies, get your books. I have been guilty of getting books from there, or non-guilty, or whatever you want to call it.
Well, and he also has a magazine that he publishes
And
quarterly.
it's a great magazine. I had received it a little bit. And Brother Andre Long, thank you, level 2, working on his, and you're also studying natural, and I forgot to add, we also will talk again about this, but you're studying naturopathic holistic healing, and you have you're a doctor of no.
I am a homeopathic practitioner.
Homeopathic practitioner, and we could do a whole, you know,
yeah,
show on
which
that.
is actually part of naturopathic medicine.
Okay.
That Brother Andre is studying.
But again, we want to thank them for being here on this show on Psychic Sushi. And if you would like to be in part of the studio audience, you can go to my website, www.elizabethhowell.com. And you can email me through my website and get on our email list so that we can contact you about being in the studio audience. And please tell your friends and family to come on out. And I want to thank the little girl at Cool Beans who asked for my autograph. I really appreciate that. That was like really amazing. So you know who you are. Thank you. She's watching. Anyway, thanks again for joining us with Psychic Sushi.